Really? You're gonna ask me a lore question. You mentioned that you main King before. What do you think would be the best direction of lore between him, Armor King, and Marduk? For Tekken 8. King, Armor King, and Marduk. Right now, it's just an absolutely terrible soap opera. Pretty much all story in Tekken 7 was complete rubbish. I've never heard anyone say good things about Tekken 7 story mode. And Tekken 7 story mode only involved a few select characters. A few main characters, and still they completely dropped the ball. And it was super terrible. It's much easier to make something terrible if you make it, you know, more complicated, or it revolves around more characters and everyone needs something interesting to do. They dropped the ball with just a few characters. And yeah, don't get me started on the character episodes. Worst thing I've ever seen, perhaps. So yeah, I don't have high hopes for Tekken 8. And the last we saw in like Tekken 6 of King, Armor King, and Marduk, it was basically a soap opera. I don't know, what was it? They're on a graveyard. It's dark, and you have a lightning strike when Marduk says, "You murdered, who are you, Armor King? I murdered Armor King." And then there's a lightning strike as soon as he says it, and there's a dramatic close-up on Armor King. "He was my brother." And it's like, oh, Jesus. So we get Armor King back, and your big fucking twist is that he had a brother who looks exactly the same, also has that mask, is equally strong, if not stronger, and knows all the same techniques. Wow, that's quite the coincidence. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess if I read a fan fiction literally a million years ago on the story of King and Armor King. And I didn't forget it because I felt it was actually pretty good. But I think that offer said that Armor King was a god of a South American tribe who worshipped the jaguar. And they called themselves something. I don't remember what it was. But Armor King was literally a god. He was not a man. And he would wear that mask. And close to that village, you would have this priest, King, who was there doing, you know, work. You know, I guess spreading the word of God, helping the children. And he had an orphanage, obviously. And Armor King would recognize him as a worthy person somehow, and then give him that mask that would give King as well, like these inhuman powers. So he would choose him to be his disciple, pretty much. And I really liked that. And if you had done something along those lines, you could have just said that, yeah, Armor King was buried. He was killed by Marduk, buried, but then he came back to life because he's a god, or there's just something supernatural about him. You know, with the black mask and the red eye. That would have been better, in my opinion. Oh wow, it's really, it's his brother that comes back. So it's like, it depends on what you find interesting, I guess, you know, as a Tekken fan or whatever, or in terms of story in general. But I think I prefer that fan fiction. It's more interesting to me. And right now they've written themselves into the dumbest corner possible. Yeah, it's a soap opera. No, I don't expect much from Tekken 8 with Marduk King and Armor King. Marduk's probably going to be a dumbass, crazy comic relief. And dear Lord, in Tekken 5, they strongly insinuate that Marduk rapes Anna. It's like, yeah. So you have him in the same game. He's sort of, I mean, they strongly imply he rapes Anna. And he also has a face turn, as they call it in wrestling. He turns into a hero Goes from villain to hero, shakes hands with king, and they are suddenly partners now, allies. It's like, it's just all over the place with Marduk. And he's actually really cool in Tekken 4. He's not a crazy idiot in Tekken 4. And it's the same with Paul. He's not a crazy idiot in Tekken 4. But that's the last time they used a writer, right? These days, for some reason, they want to keep it as dumb as possible. And Armor King and King is going to be gibberish. I think the story is going to be that King does a big power bomb on Armor King. That's the ending. That's the story. Oh, look at that big power bomb. Isn't that the endings of Tekken 5? So yeah, I have absolutely no hopes for that. And I don't even want to start guessing on what it's going to entail, because it's just going to be so bad. I feel it's a waste of time to almost even guess what it's going to be, because it's going to be so ridiculously bad. I have no God, what's the word I'm looking for here? Hopes whatsoever, I guess, for the story of Tekken 8. Yeah, sorry if I sound too negative. It's just that I really wanted to like Tekken 7, and when I finished the story of Tekken 7, I so desperately wanted to be positive that I legit said, like, well, that was pretty good. I mean, they turned Heihachi into a character that was quite dramatic towards the end. And then, like, 15 minutes later, you're like, that was pretty bad. And then the day after, oh my god, what was that narrator? But so yeah, this was a pretty long answer, but I hope you got something satisfactory out of it.